Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Can you just give me a thumbs up or a yes or something if you can hear me to make sure that the mic is working correctly? Awesome. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do today is we're going to review activities 76 and 77 and go over the questions. Now, hey, Jake. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Kate. It's good to see everyone. Basically, before we get into that, I just want to go over a couple of things so you understand some of the things that happened in EDSB. First of all, when you're submitting an assignment, make sure if it's a multiple choice assignment or test, make sure you're actually clicking the answer and that you see that the circle is highlighted, because you can actually submit assignments with missing answers. When you're doing your when you're doing your homework, please make sure you're answering questions, because as I'm grading assignments, hey everyone, as I'm grading assignments, I'm seeing that there are a couple of people here and there. It's not a lot of people, but there are a couple of people here and there that are missing a question. They're not answering it, so they're losing credit on that question. Also, please make sure that when you're working on your questions, you're actually putting an effort into answering them, because I am looking at your answers, and if your answers aren't really making an attempt to answer the question, you are losing points. Kaylee, happy birthday. I hope you have a wonderful day today. So I just wanted to go over that, make sure you understand that. I am grading assignments. It's just that there's a lot of assignments and I have to click in each assignment, view each submission, grade each one. So it takes me a little bit of time. So you may have seen that some of you had stuff that was graded. I was grading this morning, but EDSB started lagging, I assume because people were going in and doing homework. So since people were going in and doing homework, I kind of backed out of it so that I wasn't taking up room in the EDSB server. Also, another thing I wanted to go over really briefly, I opened up some assignments. One of the issues that I had, I'm not sure if I explained this to you, but one of the issues that I had in EDSB, which I was not aware of, when I assign something and I say it's due Monday, EDSB automatically puts it's due Monday at 12 midnight. Well, Monday at 12 midnight does not mean Monday night at 12 midnight. 12 midnight is the beginning of a new day. So for whatever reason, it defaults to the day before. So if I say it's due, if I just click Monday and I don't put a set time, it immediately puts 12 midnight, which is the beginning of Monday. So if you went in and did an assignment on Monday, and you went in, you probably noticed for like activity 75, for example, that it was marked late. Now you got full credit for the assignment if you did it, so that's irrelevant regardless. But it was because EDSB defaulted. I'm not really sure why it would do that, considering if I say I want to do Monday, I'm not saying it has to be done before Monday arrives. I'm saying you have until Monday night. So I am more conscious of the times. No, you're not repeating 8th grade next year. Okay. So I'm more conscious of the times now, and I set for 11:45 at night. I set the times for the assignments. In some cases, I've actually moved them to 12:15, which is pretty much while we're in class, so that if you get up in the morning, you have the opportunity to work on the assignment in the morning. So I did move around some dates, but as I mentioned, as I went over in the videos, you can look at the due dates. If I change it, I'm not going to make the date earlier. I'm going to make it later. So I'm going to make it to your advantage. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that before I get started? Okay, so I hope that kind of clarifies the reason why some of you may have seen a late assignment or had trouble getting into an assignment, please make sure you're paying attention to the deadlines, because the ones that you can actually go in and see the questions and plug the answers in, they have a timestamp deadline. And if you miss it, it appears that you can't even go in and click on it. It doesn't even mark it late. It just doesn't allow you to do it at all. Now, I'm getting in touch with EDSB to see if I'm able to set it up so that I can take a late assignment, but it's not appearing that it's doing that right now. So I am going to be getting in touch with the EDSB powers that be when I get off of this link. And as I learn stuff, I'll be posting an EDSB and letting you know. So just keep an eye on the feed, okay? All right, folks, so let's go ahead and start going over the questions, okay? So I'm going to do a brief review. We're doing activities 76 and 77 today. Tomorrow we'll do, tomorrow there's no class. So Monday we'll do 78 and 79. Tuesday we'll do 80 and 81. And by the time we get to Monday or Tuesday, you will have already had a review sheet in your EDSB folder that you'll be able to work on to prepare for your test. Okay, so we're going to do a lot of preparation, so please just make sure, and I'll also be sending you guys PowerPoints and notes and stuff like that, so keep an eye out on EDSB because I am going to be posting that stuff in the library. All right, okay, so looking at activity 75, let me grab the book because my teacher's manual doesn't actually have the information on it. So activity 75 was when we were interpreting the motion graphs, and we were looking at the graphs dealing with Tisha and Josh. Okay, so the bottom line with this assignment, I'm sorry, that was activity 75. I'm looking at 76. I apologize, 76. So looking at 76, 76 was the lab on speed and collisions. So basically what we did in this particular lab is we set up a block, and then when we dropped the cart, we watched it hit the block. Okay, so that pretty much was the entire lab, and we were watching how the height impacted how hard the block was hit and therefore how far the block moved. So what impacted the movement of the block more? Was it ramp height A, which was the highest, or ramp height C, which was the lowest? Okay, what impacted the motion of the block more? What made the block move more, and why? Does anyone have an answer? A little bit of a downfall to this is that you have to type your responses, so we have to wait a moment, but it's important for you to have an opportunity to voice yourself. Height A, that is correct. Okay, so height A impacted it more. Why did height A impact it more? Block A, it was higher and it gained more speed. The greater the speed, the greater the impact. The greater the impact, the further the block moves. Well said, Siri. That is perfect. So it did provide the most force. Yes, it did, Sabrina. Awesome. So the question was, which height impacted the movement of the block more? Which height made the block move more? Okay. So we're going to go over the analysis questions. And number one, it says identify a place on each graph where the slope of the line changes. What does the change of the motion indicate on the graph? So a change in slope indicates a change in the distance traveled in a given time, which is defined as speed. Okay. Oh, I'm still looking at 75. I am so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I apologize. That was not the first question. 76. Although that information is important, we've already gone over that. How does the speed of the cart affect how far the block moves? And we've actually just gone over that. The higher the notch, the further the block moves. And we've also discussed why. Okay? So, number 2, why do you think the release height has this effect? We've also just discussed this, so this is actually great. We've actually covered the first 2 questions already. The higher the release height, the greater the speed the cart gains. The greater the speed the cart gains, the harder it pushes it. It pushes the block, or the harder it hits the block, and therefore the further the block is pushed. Okay, what part of the experiment's design increases and decreases your confidence in your data? Okay, I'm going to go over what this means because you've seen this question before, but despite the fact that you've seen this question before, some of you are still struggling with what this question means. So let me go ahead and explain it. If something increases your confidence in your data, what that means is you're confident that your data is good based on this particular thing. So what here increases your confidence, and you can also type what decreases your confidence. In this particular case, please identify if you're saying increasing or decreasing. Okay, so I know what you're referring to. By the way, that was one of the problems with the homework questions. People would just write something and not say if it increases or decreases the confidence in the data. So please make sure you're identifying what it is that you mean. Okay, so what, for example, would increase your confidence, or what would decrease your confidence in the data? What would increase your confidence in any lab? The consistency of your results increases your confidence. Multiple trials increases your confidence. That is absolutely correct. The more trials you do, and then you couple that with the consistency of the results, definitely makes you feel that the results are consistent. So therefore, it increases your confidence in your results. Okay. Increase use of the ruler. Okay. So being able to identify exact measurements. Decreasing if you weren't using exact measurements, if you weren't able to identify, for example, using your hand as opposed to using a ruler. What else? Seeing the results were similar increases. Okay, so everyone is pretty good at understanding the consistency of multiple trials. If you look at the decreasing portion, this is actually the portion that's a little bit more important because a lot of people miss out on this part. So let me go ahead and review that for a moment. If you're looking at, for example, that ramp, and you could always go back at the previous video for 76 and look at it. But if you look at the ramp, you'll notice that where the ruler is located is away from the ramp. You had to put it next to the ramp. It's not notched in the ramp. Okay, so perhaps being slightly off on your measurement. Another thing that could decrease your confidence is the fact that you may not necessarily start at the notch. So you may not be keeping the exact same distance every single time. What if instead of just letting go, you accidentally pushed it? So you gave it a little bit of a head start. Or what if, although you put it at the notch, so the notch is here and you put it here, but when you went to let it go, you kind of went like this and then let it go. Okay, so although you started it here, it wound up actually coming up a little bit more because you pulled it back prior to letting it go. Some of us do that. If you've ever had any of those Matchbox cars or Hot Wheels and the tracks, some of them, you'd pull it back before you let it go. So it's kind of human nature to do something like that when you're looking at it, okay? Human error. All of those have to do with human error. You know, basically, not paying attention to whether or not we're keeping everything consistent on our end as humans. Okay, good. So hopefully those of you who struggled with that question understand what that question means now. Number 4, when a car crashes, do you think its speed can make a difference in the amount of damage that is done? What do you think? Yes, it can. Okay, the faster the car is going, is it going to do more or less damage? The greater the speed, the harder the impact is going to be. Absolutely. So it's a difference between a small fender bender and ripping off the entire rear bumper of the vehicle in front of you and injuring the person. So that is correct. Momentum affects movement, all movement. And if a truck is barreling down a road, it will hurt a little bit more than a sedan would. So now you're incorporating mass. Okay, and we're actually going to be talking about that, I think, in a couple of sections when we're reviewing it. But that was the whole point of force, mass, and acceleration. But you're correct. A truck can't speed up or slow down as much. And we talked about this when we talked about, you know, which car would you pick and why would you want one with more mass or less mass? Because, and I believe I gave you in class when we were physically together, I gave you the example of the Sam trucks. Okay, large trucks cannot speed up and cannot slow down as fast as a small car can. So as a result, the car is speeding up or slowing down. If it can't slow down fast enough, it's going to hit. Okay, it's going to hit hard. So the greater the speed, the greater the impact, the greater the impact, the greater the damage. That is absolutely correct. Awesome. Okay, so that covers all of the questions for 76. Does anyone have any questions on it before we move on to 77? Lorenzo, I don't think you've been in social isolation that long that you don't remember what a truck is. Okay, so far the concepts are pretty easy and pretty much common sense. If you've ever been in a car or a truck or a bus before, you should have a good understanding of it. Awesome. If we could actually find masks, that would be great. All right, guys, so we're going to look at 77. Okay, and 77 has to do with mass and collisions. So here we go talking about mass and collisions. So now we had pretty much the same setup where we had the cart and the block, but now instead of it being changing the height, we changed how much mass the cart had. So we added those little pieces of metal, okay, and all going from the same height. So who can tell me what happened as we increased the height of, as we increased the mass of the green cart? What happened to the displacement of the block? Or how much did the block move as we increased the height? More what? It moved further. So if you increase, it went further, the more weight was added. That is correct. So the greater the weight or the greater the mass of the cart, greater mass, greater weight. So the greater the mass of the cart, the harder it hit, despite the fact that it was always being dropped from the same height, the harder it hit the block and the further the block moved. So we can then state that the greater the mass of the object, the greater the impact force. Okay? Now, Going over the questions for 77. Okay, did the mass of the cart affect the collision? How do you know this? Yes, the more mass of the cart, the further the block went. Okay, why do you think the mass did or did not have the effect that you predicted? Okay, so most of us predicted that it would move the cart more. Okay, and it had that effect because, as we mentioned, the greater the weight, the greater the force behind the impact, and therefore the further the cart moved. All right, so what parts of the experimental design increase and decrease confidence in your data? Here we go with that again. Remember, if you're mentioning increase or decrease, please type increase or decrease so I know what it is you're talking about. You can just put INC or DEC just to shorten it. So what increased and decreased your confidence in the data? Super Neat Gaming, you have your hand up? Or are you just waving? Hi. No one has an idea? Okay. Consistent trials, so having approximately the same displacement with each trial. Okay. Same rules apply. So basically, the number of trials and the consistency of the trial would increase your confidence. Okay, consistency of the trials increases your confidence. What about decreases in this particular case? Because there are a couple of things that apply here. What do you mean by the science increased your confidence? The fact that someone is dropping the cart could be inconsistent, so it decreases your confidence. That is true. What about the block? Could it be that the block wasn't always placed in the exact same spot every single time? And wouldn't that throw off the distance measured? How about potentially reading the ruler incorrectly? So placement, okay. All right, so these are things we want to think about, because when you're looking to improve an experiment, these are the kind of things that you want to think about. The block could be in the incorrect position. Okay. Same could be said about the cart. You're absolutely right, Amberly. The same could be said about the cart. Reading the ruler wrong. That's a good point, Gabby. If you're reading the ruler incorrectly, you've now miscalculated the distance. Okay. All right. Number 4, if your car were in a collision, would you rather be hit by vehicle 1 that is 2,027 kilograms or vehicle 2 that is 1,415 kilograms from activity 73? Chris, you're absolutely correct. The point at which the cart, where both the cart and the block were placed. Okay, so Lexi says vehicle 2. Anyone else? Okay, vehicle 2, absolutely. Because vehicle 2 has less mass. You're absolutely correct, Gabby. Less mass means the impact won't be as great. Okay, and therefore it'll cause less damage. You are absolutely correct. All right, folks, that's it for the questions that you had to do. Alexis, you're not Alexis? Okay. Does anyone have a question about, I'm trying to read the comments here. It has less mass, so it will create less impact. That is correct. And there's less damage as a result. You are correct. All right. So, You heard, oh, okay. I had a former student whose name was Alexis, and that was her nickname. So I saw Lex and I just went with it. Okay. Oh, great. Thank you. I'm glad you understand it. So no one has any questions. I will do what I always do. I'll leave the chat box open for a few minutes to answer any questions anyone has. But make sure you check in your deadlines. Make sure you're turning in your homework on time, because then for some reason it does not let you click on the assignment once the link expires. So you're very welcome, Emberly. It's my pleasure. You know, I really wish we could be in class together, but unfortunately we're unable to. So this is our best way to meet and see each other. By the way, if you guys ever find that you need help with something, you need something explained, or you want to go over something, please, please, please feel free to send me a message and let me know. I could always set up a private stream, maybe a small Zoom that we can go over stuff one-on-one, okay? The reason I'll do the Zooms. The problem is that some students are not conforming to the rules, and we don't want to create any kind of problems. I don't have a problem doing them, but having people yelling with their microphones on in the middle of the Zoom was a little disconcerting. But I don't have a problem doing them, especially if we're doing small group reviews, where I could do multiple small group reviews to meet with people. So you don't have to show your face. Your camera can be turned off. In fact, I probably won't have them on for most of the Zooms anyway. Okay. If I do it, of course, I will post to my students, but you cannot share the link with people outside of your class. Okay, that is a big, 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 big no-no. You do not share the link with students outside of the classroom. And the reason for that is because we don't want people who don't belong in our class joining the class and potentially posting inappropriate things. Okay, so, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope you guys had a wonderful week. I really wish you guys have a great weekend. Try to make the best of this social isolation. And like I said, if you need any help with anything, please let me know. And we'll work something out. I'm here to help you out the best way that I can. And I know it's really difficult not being with each other, not being able to communicate as efficiently. But you know, I'm here for you guys. If you need something, please let me know. Just please don't wait until the last possible minute and do your homework, because then if you can't get in, you know, it's a little bit of a struggle. But like I said, I am going to work with EDSB. So for anyone that had an issue, I'll meet with you guys privately. I'll discuss what we're going to do, and I'll fix any issues that EDSB is having. Okay. So have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care. Bye, guys.